The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, people of Earth and beyond. If you're listening from beyond the Earth, out there, the extraterrestrials, I'm never gonna doubt that there might be something out there. So if you're out there, hello everybody. That was a crazy intro. I know I'm losing it. Scotty Mentor, bringing some clarity to this show. Thank the world.
It always that you just
Holy smokes!
brought me back to childhood, Anthony, because I don't know why, but Toy Story immediately popped into my head, to infinity and beyond.
You were a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. All right, Scotty, we have a great show for you today on a Wednesday. We are going to recap some Class B baseball that happened last night. Playoffs are here, and 16U, 18U starts, I believe, tonight. We're going to check on the Class B website. But the 16U play-in games, which are basically the one-game winner-take-all series to get into the semifinals against the 1 and 2 seeds, they were last night. We're going to bring up the Class B website, talk about these two playoff games. They were both really good baseball games, which is exactly what you want out of postseason. The first one, wild to the end, Prospects and Athletics. Neither team wanting to end their summer, and this one went all the way into the night. 12 innings to decide this one, but the Prospects get the win in 12, 2-1, 7-6, after Athletics took the lead in the top of the 12th. Thinking that they have it secured, Prospects come and sneak it out of their 7-6 your final score. Prospects get the win. This game was scoreless after 2. Athletics took a lead. They let it slide in the bottom of the third, 3-2 after 3. Athletics tie up the game, and then we're scoreless until the 6th when Prospects score 2. Athletics take that lead away, and they tie up the game at 2. And then 4 scoreless frames in a row took us into the 12th when Athletics scored 1 in the top to take a 1-run lead. But like I said, the Prospects snuck away into the night with the win with 2 runs in the bottom of the 12th to walk off this game. Scotty, the 12 innings, that's 5 extra innings. Class B plays 7, so 5 extra innings in this game before it was all said and done. Prospects 7 runs, 17 hits, and 2 errors. Athletics 6 runs, 14 hits, 1 error. That is a combined, for those of you at home, combined 31 hits between these two teams.
Yeah, that's some serious firepower there.
You look at the lineup right in the middle. We had 3 batters for Prospects with 2 RBIs each. You had Nathan Palucci with 2 RBI. He went 2 for 5. You had Aiden Anders, who had a perfect day at the plate, 4 for 4 with a walk and 2 RBI. And then a 2 for 6 day for Cameron Herrick. He also got the walk-off hit, so he was the hero in this game as he had 2 RBI, a walk as well. And then you go into the top of the order, Brixton Gilmore. He went 1 for 5 with a walk and an RBI as well. And that was the scoring for the Prospects offense. We go into the Athletics offense, Scotty, and 2 RBI day for Josh McFadden. He went 3 for 5, on the night. You had an RBI from Kale Moraski, who went 2 for 4 with a walk and a run scored. RBI for Colin Resitar. He went 1 for 4 with a walk. And then an RBI on a 3 for 5 night from JD Henderson. He went, 3 for 6 night, I should say. He scored 3 runs to go along with his 1 RBI. So a lot of offense and a lot of excitement, exactly what you want in a postseason game. Scotty, the prospects, they're moving on. They win 7-6. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what a game. Just a grind that had to be. I mean, baseball is a grind in general, but you talk about the emotional roller coaster side of it, side of sports. Athletics getting the lead late, probably thinking they're sitting pretty, and then all of a sudden the prospects say no, 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 and for it to go 5 extra innings and grind out like that, that is a great game, and all you could ask for at this time of year as a fan. It's just unfortunate, but it's one of those unfortunate situations where, especially if you're more neutral, you don't want to see a team lose, or you wish there was a way, they could both come out on top, but it's not how sports works.
Not unless we're playing soccer, which we're not.
What's that?
I said not unless we're playing soccer.
Yeah.
Which we're not. But you look at this game, and what I think is really cool, the offense was pretty apparent in the first 7 innings. You have, 5 runs scored from each side, but then how about 4 scoreless innings put up by these pitching staffs to keep the game going? No one could score for a while, and the most innings that ever went scoreless before extras was the first 2 in a row, no score there. But then they're scoring in almost every inning after that. But then in extras, the scoring went completely silent until the 12th. So it was the back end of the pitching staffs that had the most success for this.
The pitching was dynamite. You go 4 innings, that long without giving up runs on both sides. I don't care what level it is. That is a tough thing to do. So
I mean, you look at the pitching for prospects. Cameron Herrick went, 6 2/3, 9 hits given up, but just 3 earned runs. He struck out in 6, and then you had 4 innings from Austin Rowe. He got the win, so he was the one that pitched the closing out innings. He only gave up 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 run total. 2 hits, struck out 5. Austin Rowe from LeBray. You got to imagine picking up the win and pitching those 4 scoreless innings and then giving up the 1 unearned run in the top of this 12th. That's impressive, especially when you have someone that started the game, didn't exactly do exactly what you wanted, so you had to come into your bullpen, and Herrick had to come in and throw 6 2/3 in relief. And then you had to have 4 more from Austin Rowe because it went into extras, and Herrick was already at 99 pitches.
Yeah, so they really had to rely on their pen, and anytime your original the plan A kind of goes awry, goes off the rails a little bit, to have teammates, and that's the great thing about team sports is, there's always a chance opportunity knocking for somebody else, and the teammates picked up the slack there.
And on the other side, Tyler Kurlick also pitched really well in those innings. He went 5 2/3, pitching a bulk of those scoreless frames that we said. 4 scoreless frames in extras. He had the bulk of those. He gave up those last 2 earned runs on 6 hits and struck out 4. But he had 4 innings of scoreless baseball, keeping things where they were in extras. And those are high-pressure pitches in extras when you know that if you give up a run, it's over, your summer's over, and your offense keeps getting blanked, and you have to go out there and match the pitcher that just pitched in the top half. everyone always says the home team has the advantage, and I think that's great for when we're talking about offenses. That's true, but they also what other thing that gives them the advantage in the home team is the pressure that's put on the away team pitcher in the bottom of the inning if their offense doesn't score in the top in this situation. Like you have to go toe to toe and match the other pitcher pitch to pitch, or you're going home, and that's the end of it. That's a lot of pressure on people on the mound.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, if you succeed and you do well, it's you get like that attaboy, and then but then one mistake and could be the turning point and or the kind of the nail in the coffin. So it's definitely a pressure cooker for sure. And you see, who is able to calm that heart rate, because I think at certain points of these games, everyone's heart's beating fast. Maybe they're a little over anxious, but you calm that heart rate and just go about it as business as usual. You're going to give yourself a good chance.
So that was the first play-in game. Let's go and take a look at the second between the 3B Barons and Creekside. This was the 3 versus 6 seeds in the 16U division, and it was the Barons who got the win 6-4. The final score here: the Barons with 2 in the top of the third, 1 in the top of the fifth, 2 in the top of the sixth, 1 in the top of the seventh. So they kept tacking on runs in the last 3 innings, and it was just too much for Creekside to overcome. 6 runs on 10 hits, 1 error for the Barons, 4 runs on 12 hits, 2 errors for Creekside. Look at the Barons offense. It looked like this. They had a 3 RBI day from Ben Yeckel, who went 3 for 4 on the day. They also had an RBI from Tristan Blum, who went 1 for 4 with a run scored. Just 4 RBI out of the 6 runs scored for the Barons. And their pitching staff did a pretty good job. Yeckel had a good day at the plate, also got the win. Went 5 innings, did give up 10 hits, but only 2 earned runs on those 10 hits, and struck out 4. Scotty, that tells you when you give up 10 hits but only 2 runs, you're throwing some high-pressure pitches with runners on base, and you're doing it well.
Yeah, like that's, I mean, to be able to do that when it is really that playoff kind of vibe where, everything is magnified under that microscope, and to be able to do that and do it so well and with such efficiency, it really, it's gotta feel really good for, if you're on one of those teams, you have to feel like, limitless potential. Even if you do eventually come up short, you have to feel really good, about your future or next season or whatever that may be.
Creekside's offense has got to be kicking themselves a little bit. I mean, you have 12 hits on the day, and you're only able to bring over 4 runs. That's got to be a little bit of a disappointment, because usually when you put a lot of runners on base, you got to be able to bring them home. And 12 hits usually gets you more runs than 4. But situational hitting is important, and you said it best. Things get magnified, the pressure gets cooked up a little bit. So some at bats with some timely situations on the line did not come through for Creekside, and the Barons get the win 6-4. Let's take a look at what that lines up for the playoffs now, as we'll get into the series Wednesday, which is today. The Astro Falcons and Avalanche, who both had a bye as the 1 and 2 seeds, now know their opponents. Prospects will go up against the Athletics. This is 2 seed versus 2 seed Athletics, 2 seed Astro Falcons, excuse me. So this is game 1, and also in game 1, the Avalanche versus the 3B Barons. Both those games tonight on Scene 1, 5:30 and 8 o'clock are your start times for that. So exciting semifinals are there. This will be, I believe, a best 2 out of 3, and then the championship will be the best 3 out of 5. So we'll see what goes on tonight in game 1. Very important game 1 when you're best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, it is. You always want to have that upper hand going into that game. To not that you have much breathing room, but if you're able to win that first one, at worst you got that third game in your back pocket. So
18U has one game on the slate tonight. It's a makeup game on scene 2 between Dura Edge and the Astro. Well, actually, I think they're gonna. That one's already final. What happened there? Did they move it a forfeit? Yeah, so it's 1-0 Astro Falcons. That game will not be happening. I guess that's news to me. Just found it out live on the show. But the Astro Falcons, so no game tonight. That's final. That's good. Astro Falcons take the win, which means the 18Us will move right to Friday, where their postseason will start, and it'll be a 1-game playoff, just like 16U was last night between Creekside and Dura Edge. That is the 4 versus 5. And Avalanche versus Athletics, that is the 3 versus 6. And the winners of those 2 games will go on to start the series with the 1 and 2 seeds in 18U, which are the 3B Barons and the Astro Falcons. 3B Barons win as we look at the final standings with the game not happening tonight. 3B Barons won the regular season in Class B baseball. First year in the league, Scotty, they go and win the whole thing. Now they have to win the playoffs to earn it, right? They have to go out and they have to win the playoffs. But they won the regular season in their first year as a Class B team.
And I don't know about you, Anthony, but having that 24-3 record, that's one thing, and that on top of it, you just say the name like 3B Barons. That just has a good ring to it, doesn't it? Like,
it really does. It's almost like someone marketed that team and they wanted it to be catchy or something.
Yeah.
Look at that, because this wasn't a year where they ran away with it. It wasn't a down year for the Astro Falcons. Like, the Astro Falcons were on their heels all summer long. And it came down to a game between the Astro Falcons and 3B Barons last week. The Astro Falcons had a 5-0 lead in that game, and the Barons scored 6 unanswered runs. Win that game to get a game ahead. And then the Astro Falcons drop one a little bit later on in the season to Ballistic. That was the game right before our All-Star game on last Saturday. They dropped that game to Ballistic. They lose to Dura Edge on Sunday as well. So they dropped a couple of games here late, and they gave 3B Barons the easy opportunity to say, hey, we're going to win this. We're going to win this league. And they did that. They won the regular season. Now they have to go take care of it in the postseason. It doesn't really matter now anymore. It mattered yesterday. Yesterday, these standings matter. They had some weight. Now the season's over. These standings carry no weight. All those records right there, Scotty, go to 0-0.
Yeah. The slate is wiped clean. It's brand new.
And I'll tell you what, Scotty, we know this from covering Class B baseball. We've seen it. The Astro Falcons in the postseason are a little bit of a different animal. So just because you win the league doesn't mean you're clear of having to deal with the Astro Falcons. They're going to be really mad if they play the 3B Barons in the championship series, knowing that they let that lead slip away, and maybe with a 1 game, losing the series, losing the standings by 1 game. It came down to that 1 game where they had a 5-0 lead. They let it go. So they're going to be really motivated if these 2 teams meet in the championship series. A lot before that goes down, though. We still have to have the play-in games and the semifinals before we get talking about championship series. But it's exciting times down there at Bobstein Park. And then after Class B, NABF rolls right in. So baseball is still alive and well here in the Valley. We're not done with summer baseball by any stretch of the imagination, and it really leads us pretty much right into football season. I know we're trying to block out the monster machine that is fall sports for as long as we can, trying to give our minds a little bit of a mental break. But this summer baseball, this carries us right into it. So Class B baseball playoffs coming at you 18U starts Friday with the play-in games, and the 16U semifinals start tonight. It'll be found on ysnlive.com/live is where you can find all those games on our network.
I, I
Scotty,
I got a question for you.
okay. I like
Um,
questions.
we saw the Astro Falcons come up short against 3B, and 3B, winning the league, being a game better than them to this point. But do you think because of the Astro Falcons, kind of like the um, expectations when you put on that uniform and just their ability, like their history, tradition, do you think maybe because the 3D Barons are so new that is going to give the Astros some kind of edge now, or do you think it could be one of those things where because they're so new, like they're just playing so loose?
Look,
3D.
I want to make one thing clear that they're new to Class B baseball, but this organization not new at all. They've been playing out of PA for a long time, so I'm sure all these players that they brought in from that organization, they've played plenty of big games, and there's also some names in there that have been in Class B baseball. They've played on during Edge 18, 16, but like Aiden Leindecker, we've seen his name in Class B baseball plenty of times. So there are players on the 3B Barons that just came over to this team. And there are also players that have been playing for that organization for a while. So it's their first time in Class B baseball, but they're not a brand new organization that's never played in big games before. But it does feel like, Scotty, it's kind of one of those things like if you beat, let's say you're going up in college basketball, you might be the higher ranked team, but you beat like a team like Duke, and it just still feels like an upset, like one of those things. Or if you beat the Patriots back in their dynasty for football, like even if the Patriots weren't the number one seed in the AFC, people just assume they'd win. So when you beat them out of the AFC, it was like we upset the Patriots, even though we were the higher seed. I feel like this has one of those feelings where if the 3B Barons go on to win the Class B playoffs, it would feel like an upset, even though they're going in as the number one seed and they won the Class B standings. It feels like the Astro Falcons are still the favorite because of what their heritage and what their pedigree is.
So it's kind of like, and I know you're not the biggest NBA fan, but this just popped into my head. Um, it's kind of like to you. I remember one year where the Atlanta Hawks were just on fire and they ran away from everybody. They had the one seed in the East, but the Cavs were the 2 seed and they had LeBron on the team. And even though the Hawks compiled this great regular season record, I think they even beat the Cavaliers a couple times in the regular season. It's like when it came to that playoff time, it's like people still expected the Cavs to win, and they ended up doing it. So is that kind of where you were getting at with the
Exactly. It's
3D
it's that
Barons?
kind of thing where it's like for that particular season, the Hawks were probably a better team throughout the whole regular season. They proved it. They beat them a couple of times, but when getting the playoffs, it's like, yeah, but that's LeBron James over there. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers over there. Like that, there's this supposed to win. I don't want to bring my homer side in this, but like the Chiefs in the playoffs, like they weren't the one seed this year.
No, and
You had that. They were in the wild card. They were the away team. I feel like they were the 3 or 4 seed, something like that. But you kind of look at them and you just go, yeah, but they're the Chiefs, right? In those playoffs, it's like, yeah, but it's Patrick Mahomes. But even with
yeah,
that, there were still people that did not really buy into them going to Buffalo and going to Baltimore.
I do remember you saying though, Anthony, because most people thought like if there's any time you're gonna get the Chiefs and knock them off their throne, this is the year you're gonna get them. And I think most people thought with them having to go on the road for at least two games if they made it to the AFC title game, not having every game at home. I think people just kind of assumed, okay, this is where they're most vulnerable. Where you were like, and you were really the only person I talked to that said, if we just play our game and don't turn the ball over, I don't think there's a team that could beat us in the NFL. And that's kind of
People didn't put it in a factor that like almost every game the Chiefs lost were self-inflicted losses, like fumbling or dropping a pass, et cetera, et cetera. There weren't too many games they lost that year where it's like, wow, that team just beat them. Like Chiefs played well, didn't matter, that team beat them. But I don't want to get too far into the NFL, but the point is, like, I never felt like last year all season, I never felt like the Chiefs were a dynasty. I wouldn't call them that because the Patriots got to a point when it was like, yeah, but it's the Patriots. It's who cares? It's the Patriots. There were times in that dynasty in the regular season. In fact, most of the last leg of that dynasty where they started to win again, most of the regular seasons had one point or another where they did not look good, especially like the starts. They would start off like 2-6 or 1-5, something like that, where it'd be like, man, with most teams, you go, man, the Patriots are in trouble. But they had built up this huge resume to the point when it was like, who cares? It's Tom Brady, it's the Patriots. They're going to be fine, And the Chiefs aren't there yet. But that's what I'm talking about with the Astro Falcons. They're at that level because they've just consistently won in Class B baseball for years and years and years. They've gotten their organization to this level where it's expected to go out there and win baseball games. So it's kind of that prestige when they go into the playoffs that makes you feel like even though they didn't win the regular season, you still feel like they're the favorites.
What would I don't want to, I'm just thinking this wasn't on my initial, with stuff I jotted down before today's show. It wasn't initially what I was thinking about asking you about, but what feels better to you? Is it putting on like that, like an iconic jersey and being a part of an organization that really has like that, like, commitment to like excellence? Like, does that feel great to you? Like being a part of something like that, like with, South Range and what they've done with, some of their sports. You could say recently, definitely the last 15, 20 years, they've become a power. But or do you kind of enjoy more like embracing that underdog role? Because we're kind of underdogs here at YSN, but I think there's still something about putting on that iconic winning jersey. But where do you come on that end, Dan?
I think the winning jersey, as you say it, is a kind of a double-edged sword a little bit because yes, you feel this immense pride because you just got on this team that is so prestigious. And for most of those teams like that, whether you're talking the pros, Astro Falcons, whatever, you have to make the team. It's not like you just kind of walk in, you hand them a check and be like, I got on this team. You have to try out and make that team. They have to want you to be on their team. So with that being said, like you're selected. I think Alabama's in that sense right now in football too, where it's like you put on even though they haven't won the championship in a minute, you put on that Alabama jersey, you just feel like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm playing football for Alabama. But at the same time, as cool as that is, I have to imagine, now I've never experienced this, of course, but I have to imagine putting on that uniform, and for softball world, it's Oklahoma right now. They've won 4 straight national championships. They're on top of the freaking softball world. Putting on that jersey, being an Oklahoma Sooner has to feel like the biggest dream in the world. But then there's this reality that has to probably hit you when that wears off. Like, oh, the pressure of being this good is going to wear on me for my whole college career if you're a college athlete, or for my whole stint here if you're a professional. Like, there is some serious pressure and hardship that's not talked about too much from playing on teams like that, where the media attention is amped up a little bit, the expectations from the fans and the outside perspective, that's amped up a little bit. But at the same time, like, we're competitors. We and you love sports. We compete with everything we can. And those athletes are competitors. Like, if you want to be the best in the world, that's what comes with it. And you gotta go do the thing, right? The underdogs are only underdogs because they've lost a lot. Fair?
That is
Fair?
a good point. Like,
I want to win. I don't know about you, but like, I don't want to have to go through what it takes to be an underdog before you get there. Like, I don't want to lose a lot and then come out with a win and be like, they're the underdog story of the year, buddy. Well, yeah, well,
yeah, and
you
even
know, the journey there kind of sucked a little bit, you know? But I think that once you, like, if you're going through that, then it's awesome to put on that underdog mask and be like, okay, we're going to go out, we're going to shock this freaking world. That has benefits. But if you're asking me if I'm at a starting point, like if I'm on the go square for Monopoly, and my two paths are end up being an underdog or end up being, on that prestigious team that's known for winning, I'm going on that path because, man, that path, there's a lot of L's on the road to that path, you know. And
yeah, I mean,
as a competitor, I would not want to go that path.
and I thought about it this way too, Anthony. And you're the perfect person to kind of talk to about this. And I had a great conversation with DJ about this as well. But it's like, being born, we both have cerebral palsy, and I think I've adapted well. I think you've adapted well to not necessarily let our disease, our disabilities stop us from what we're loving to do, and what we want to do. Like, we kind of figure out how to adapt to our situation or a circumstance. But there's still like those feelings some days, and I'm sure you get them too, where like, man, like I'll get them where it's like, man, it'd be cool, like, if just wasn't in a wheelchair, and I could go rollerblading right now. But it's it's like, you um do the best of it, make the best of it with what you can. And I don't want it to sound like, I'm not saying like, oh, pity party, like I'm not trying to get everybody bleak here, but I hope you understand my point and what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, you and me, we're underdogs, right? Like, people see a wheelchair or see a disability and go, well, there's things that they can't do, so and we'll be shocked if they do anything awesome. That's why viral videos go out whenever you see someone in a predicament like we are in, do something really, really cool. Make 3-pointers in a basketball game if you're autistic, or you see that wheelchair, trick wheelchair guy that can do flips on a ramp. Like, there's a reason those go viral, because it's kind of unexpected. We are underdogs. But I don't think anyone, if you could ask an infant at the start of life and be like, hey, dude, do you want to be in a wheelchair all your life? And if you do something amazing, it'll be really, really cool, but you also have to go through all the stuff that goes with it. Or do you just want to go that path? Like, no one's going to choose our path.
Yeah.
No one in the
And
same
that's
mind
the
can be
point.
like, I want to be disabled. Like,
And
I know.
even like, I'm sure, and I don't want to get like too off in the left field, but like DJ, and I'm not just blowing smoke, but DJ's one of the most, positive and strong willed people that I've come across. And he posts a lot about, like, being that underdog, but still, like, coming out victorious and this and that. But I've had the conversation with him too. He's like, even though, I've survived the L's and I have a lot of L's and I've survived it, I've gotten through it, I'd still rather just be winning every day and, having that success every single day. So I think basically what it boils down to when you throw sports into it, you kind of equate it to sports as like it's a nice story to be the underdog, but when it comes down to it, I think people are lying if they say they don't want to be like, like Duke
Right.
basketball
Look,
or
especially in our culture, like I'm not trying to take a do on society right now, but because it's not always a bad thing, but we want the easiest way possible to do something. Like we want that quick route. The you look at marketing tactics, it's all about what you can do in the quickest way possible. Whether it be electronics, whether it be our drug the drugs we have to put in our body. We want whatever's going to work the fastest. We want the fastest Tylenol. We want the fastest acting diet supplements. We want everything now, now, now. And the underdogs do not get it now. The underdogs get it after a lot of rocks and gravel and a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, right? They eventually get it. That's why those underdog stories are so cool in Hollywood films, because they eventually get it. And it tells everyone like, oh, you can get through that. But no one chooses that. No one watches the underdog story and goes, man, I want that to happen to me. Right? Like I want all that stuff that happened before the win in those Hollywood movies. I want all of that to happen to me. No one goes and says, I want to be Marshall and we are Marshall before the end of the movie.
yeah,
Like
or
if you cut out if you go up until the last 20 minutes of the movie and pause it and say, would you want to be on Marshall? No, I don't want to be on Marshall. That's brutal.
or I want to be Rudy before
No
it
one
got it
wants to
all
be Rudy until
well,
Rudy wins,
yeah,
right? So
or
Rudy was
Kurt
offside.
Warner.
Rudy was offsides. Okay, let's not bring up Rudy.
Kurt
But
Warner.
Kurt Warner, like no one watched that movie if you pause it before he gets to the Rams and go, would you want to be Kurt Warner? No. No. Like it's crazy. Our culture loves the underdog story to watch, but we don't want to live that.
Yeah.
It's and that's like we were talking about YSN, and I don't want to speak for DJ because he has his own sites for the company, but I think we're on the same page here. We want to get to a spot where we're not the underdogs anymore. Like right now, maybe you could say we are in the sports media world, but we want to get to the point where people are looking at us going, they're it. That's who we want to get to. That's where we want to, that's the story we want to be at. That's the bar right there.
Yeah.
Right. We want to be someone that starts a path and says, I want to go the path YSN took, not the path that I want to be where YSN is. I don't want to go this way with a lot more bumps and bruises along the way. So, this has been a really good discussion that just flowered out of nowhere. One simple question. This is like what makes these kind of shows really good when I have you on the show, because we can just go off into complete tangents. And it's a really good segue, Scotty, because we do have to get to one more recap before we take a commercial break. And we'll come back and we'll ask you what you had prepared for this show, because nothing so far has been what you prepared. It's been kind of off the cuff. But we do have to recap an underdog story. Someone from the softball community, the 10U Canfield softball team. Scotty, the way that the Little League tournament works in District 2, it's a double elimination tournament. So if you lose a game, you go into the loser's bracket. You have to win your way through the loser's bracket, and then to win a championship, you have to beat the undefeated team that got all the way through the bracket to the championship 2 nights in a row to get there. And last night, Canfield accomplished that task. They lost in the opening round of the tournament. They worked their way all the way through the loser's bracket. They played Austintown twice, and they beat them twice in 2 nights. Canfield is your district champions. They win last night by the final score of 3-1 in the district championship. They left the game tying run on first. It got kind of dicey in that 6th inning with Austintown at the plate. They had runners on first and second, 2 outs, 2 strikes, and the Austintown hitter hit the ball hard. It looked like it was going to be a base hit through the 5-6 hole, but props to Deli, the shortstop for Canfield, making a good catch on the line, ending the game, robbing Austintown of any kind of comeback hopes, and giving Canfield the championship. You look at this game, Scotty, and these 2 games for Canfield. The first one, you have Lily Barber come in and start in the circle for Canfield, and she goes 5 innings, 12 strikeouts, no hits, just a couple of walks on her tally to prevent a perfect game. Pitched really well. They brought in someone to relieve her in the last inning just to save her arm a little bit because they knew they'd have to play again the next day. They come in, they don't start her. They wanted to keep her in the back pocket. They wanted to keep Lily Barber in that role where they could bring her in if they get a lead. It was one of those Madison Bumgarner situations for the Giants, right? Where like, we have this in our back pocket if you get us in trouble in the 2014 World Series. So they didn't start her. They had Gabby Stack start. She pitched well, gave up just that 1 run. And then once Canfield got a lead, and the minute that Austintown put any kind of threat up with Canfield having a lead, they brought in Lily Barber, who went right back to work, struck out 7, and I think like 2 2/3 innings, something like that. Really good pitching for her. And Canfield gets the win over Austintown with back-to-back wins in back-to-back nights to come out of the losers bracket and still be the district champion. They will go on to the state tournament, which will be not this weekend, but next weekend at the Field of Dreams. It starts on Thursday, July 11th through the 16th, I believe. The 16th would be the if necessary game. So it's really the 11th through the 15th. And then if the losers bracket of the state championship comes and wins the game on Monday, they'd have to play on Tuesday. But states for 12U and 10U. We talked about the 12U Austintown team yesterday. Got the win on Monday, breezed through it, got the district championship for the 2nd year in a row. But Canfield comes through, upsets Austintown's younger team, and it is Canfield's 10U going to the state tournament next weekend. Scotty, don't you love that when teams are down to their last gasp and they find the win to get them to the next round?
Yeah, for sure. Baseball wise, I don't know if you remember, Am, but like it immediately popped into my head. It was like the 2011 World Series, I want to say, or 10, and the Rangers were playing the Cardinals, and the Cardinals were down to their last strike in Game 6, and they ended up getting a hit, taking the lead, extending the series to a Game 7, and then winning it in the Game 7. So it's always when you see people come up big in those situations that are so pressure packed, and especially locally when we're able to use this platform and give you exposure locally like nobody else, and you see kids at such a young age able to do that, it does make for great conversation for sure.
I think one of the most exciting things is in all the baseball or softball is the comeback with like 2 outs when you're down to your last strike or last out, and then you get that big hit. That's awesome because that's like you're on the brink of defeat. And Canfield was never there. They got the lead in both games pretty early, but they were down in the last game. Like this was win or go home on Monday, and Austintown kind of came in. They just needed to win. If they lost, big whoop, we can go back and win tomorrow. But Canfield was back against the wall, and goes right back to that underdog mentality. Like, yeah, they were the underdogs, but remember they lost, so you wouldn't be in that situation unless you lost, which no one wants to do. But they got into that opportunity and they made the most of it. Backs against the wall, they win 2 days in a row. And they do it with really good pitching. from their pitching staff. So once again, congratulations to Canfield's 10U for making it to state. Austintown 12U will also be there as well. Can't wait for that next week at the Field of Dreams, hosting it this year. That's going to be fun. That's 2 solid weeks of softball at the Field of Dreams. We had districts there, and now we'll have state there. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we have more with Scotty on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
From on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Anthony Hartwig, Scotty Minch here. Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by those big people right above our heads, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, so you don't have to. Scotty, we are going to go into a segment that we do every week, and we dial ourselves back to 1990s cartoons.
Yeah,
like my good friend Darkwing Duck. Let's get dangerous. Scotty, what's on your mind today, buddy?
Let's get dangerous. Well, how this worked, I told you I just thought of some stuff on the fly when we were having conversations earlier. And this kind of goes hands in hand. It kind of goes hand in hand with how we started the show today. Locally, we talked a lot about the Barons and Class B, and then, of course, the Astro Falcons. And then we just came off the segment talking about Canfield softball and their great one. So with that in mind, I also saw today, and I wanted to tie this in locally. I saw today that both Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are going to be on the WNBA. They're both on the All-Star roster. So with that in mind, and going off of some of the conversations we had today, I wanted to know, in any sport, and I know it's so easy for you to go softball, and you could, you're always good with those because that's your expertise. So don't mind if you dip in there. But I just want to know, any sport, we, of course, we're right around the corner from fall season, but as far as the underclassmen go, like, who are some athletes or even teams that in a particular season that you think maybe aren't getting talked about right now and not necessarily have arrived yet that are stars, but who are some of the biggest sleepers, whether it be, the teams itself, the schools, or players? What immediately comes to your mind when you think about like rising stars?
Man, you always put in stuff that like makes me have to think for a minute, Scotty.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, man, buddy, always put me on the spot. I'm gonna make you answer this question just so you know.
Okay.
When I think about rising stars I've talked about this team before, but there's still the one that pops in my head when I talk about young teams that may quote unquote overachieved a little bit this year, that have everything in front of them to do the same thing next year and take the next step. Middle Ridge softball. They had one senior this year, and it was a player in Aaliyah Wall who had to catch because their underclassman catcher got hurt, could not play this season. So it wasn't someone that was, I guess you could say, predestined to be their catcher. So it wasn't even that kind of senior. Aaliyah Wall, her whole career has kind of been a utility player. She played in center field her junior year, and I was told before that she wasn't really an outfielder. So just goes where her team needs her, which is a great senior and a tough one to lose for sure. But the big point of that is you're bringing Kelsey Dye right back next year if she's healthy. Fingers crossed that she's okay. But you go right back and it's like, hey, we just all these spots are filled. Like, we don't have to worry about anything. Everyone else is coming back. The rest of the MVAC, at least the big hitters in the MVAC, lost a sustainable senior class. So now you're looking at Middle Ridge going, could they be favorites in the MVAC? They're still young. They still have to know how to win and be consistent. That has to be proven for sure. But I'm looking at that roster, and I'm looking at the rosters of the other teams in front of them and the seniors that those other teams had to lose and have to find a way to put people in new places. I'm looking at Middle Ridge softball going, oh, watch out. And especially with these division changes, we don't know how it's going to line up, but they might not have to deal with Matthews anymore. Middle Ridge might get into a regional if they get into the right division and district as well. I like Middle Ridge softball, but I'm going to take a little bit of offense. I'm going to be like, okay, you know what? I can go outside of softball too. I can go outside of softball. Another sleeper I have. We're getting ready to the fall season. My mind's turning it on volleyball a little bit. I have a sleeper in volleyball, and it's going to be out of the AAC. It's going to be tough because Fitch is in there, and Fitch has looked really good this summer. They just went down and won a tournament in Massillon. They didn't drop a set the whole Sunday, and that was without some of their really good players that are off doing things with other sports. So Fitch looks really good. So this is a bold statement, but I think Canfield is a sleeper in volleyball this year. I think Kristen Nesbitt going into another year has another chance to build her culture even more. They're returning a really good core of young talent. I think they're going to be a little bit more mature this year. Their hitters are going to be a little bit more accurate this year. And I think Canfield going to be making a little bit of resurgence. They took a couple of steps back when they lost Abby Householder to YSU. When she graduated, that her senior year, Canfield was right there. They were one of the best volleyball programs in the area. They had to find their footing a little bit after she graduated. And a lot of other important players on that team, by the way, because volleyball is never a one-person sport. But now they're back. They have a good core. I think Canfield's a pretty good sleeper in volleyball. They could win that conference.
So you heard it here first.
They could. I'm not going to say any bold statements and pick them. I'm not going to do that you'll have to clip. Because when you do that, you open yourself up to really cool moments if you're right, but if you're wrong.
Yeah,
you're just
it's pie.
I don't make any bold statements because of that. The internet has taught me to never do that. I will be on the fence the whole time. Call me a coward all you want. It's all good. Scotty, I'm going to ask you the same question though. Sleepers this year in sports. What do you got?
So Anthony, honestly, in thinking about this, I'm gonna go. I really like, and I know again they're losing some leadership, but I had, not that I thought they were gonna stink, but going into last year, I had doubts about some, and I don't even know if I would call them necessarily doubts, but I had serious questions about Louisville football, and are they going to be able to do it and compete for second year in a row? And in my mind, at a really high level, and they were still able to go on and do that. So I think, this year, even with losing some key pieces, some important pieces, they've shown that they could kind of retool things and rebuild. I'm done with doubting. I'll never doubt Louisville football again. So, yeah, it's me being a bit of a homer there. We do encourage homers in the broadcast, but I'm going Louisville, and then I would also go, if we're just gonna stay in football, I think one of these years, Columbiana, they're gonna break through, and I have a feeling they played some really, in my mind, competitive games. They showed me a lot of heart last year, even in losses. So I'm going Columbiana as well. I think this is the year where, they can really bust out. So.
All right, mad respect, Scotty. Mad respect. That I think Columbiana, Coach Spate, you got a guy that never count out, right? Never count out that dude. Never count out the Clippers. Do the Clipper clap.
Yeah, and I just like the way he attacks, his approach, his enthusiasm, what he's been able to instill. And I'm a little biased because in the past, when I would interview him, he would always give me great interview and great time, and was very accommodating. But what do you think about Louisville?
Louisville, there's a lot of questions, Scotty. There's a lot of questions
There
because they
is.
did lose a lot of big pieces. So it'd be the first year without someone named Balone and the quarterback in a long time. But I thought they had a lot of questions going into last year too. So to your point, they kind of answered a lot of questions last year because it was no Vinny Balone anymore, and everyone was kind of hitting the panic button. And Michael Balone said, "Hold the phone. Wait a minute. I'm still here. Tee out." So yeah, Louisville has a shot. The MVAC Scarlet tier is a little bit open. I think in that tier, though, I think there's another sleeper in there that's going to take another stride up, and it's Western Reserve football. They've been kind of knocking on the doorstep and kind of testing the waters the last 2 years of trying to be a really good football team. And I think now that it is their time to break through that door a little bit and get a record that's like 7-3, 8-2. I think they have everything it takes to do that.
I like that pick. That's another.
I know it goes right up against yours, Scotty. And
Yeah.
my pick can't happen if your pick does too. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, so right up against each other.
Hey, remember also in football as well, I believe it starts this year, Southeast will be in the MVAC gray tier, and the MVAC Scarlet tier will welcome in Camel from the gray tier to kind of counter that. So Camel's going to move out of that gray tier, and they'll be a team that Louisville and Western Reserve and Middle Ridge and Springfield and Brookfield, not Brookfield, they're in the gray, and Sebring, who doesn't really have a football team. I don't know why I put them out. They have a 7-on-7. Why am I blanking on the Scarlet tier? McDonald. Whew. They'll all have to deal with Camel now. Jackson Milton as well, and Waterloo. They came flooding to me. I had a brain fart for a second, but they came flooding. But they're all going to have to deal with Camel now in league as Camel goes into the Scarlet tier, and Southeast from Ravenna comes into the MVAC gray tier.
Inja, I know we're just about out of time, but one final thing, I'm just curious. Do you have any set of like, where's a bar of expectation, or do you think it's too early to tell on the Red Devils this year in football? Do you think it's too early?
Too early to tell for me. They have all the athletes in the world. They just haven't been the most consistent, and I don't mean disciplined in the sense that they were out there getting in trouble, but I mean disciplined in the sense that they just weren't executing all the time on things that I know they can. That's been a little bit of a sticking point. We thought that we were going to take strides in that last year. We were going to see these kids mature on the football field a little bit with their football IQ, and it didn't really correlate into that. But you watch the tape and you go, man, these kids are fast. They have athletes. They have, a good offensive line. Like, it's right. All the pieces are right there. They go into a scarlet tier that's a little bit more geared towards the run than the gray tier. A little bit more geared towards the pass, I should say. The gray tier, you had to go up against teams like Garfield, Crestview, Brookfield that were all just so big and strong and just run. And yeah, you have a good running offenses in the MVAC Scarlet tier, but you also have some teams that, because their roster is a little bit smaller, and they opt towards the pass a little bit more. Western Reserve, Lowville, teams like that. And maybe the smaller and speedy style of football will play more into Camel's hand than the big grind nose, beat you up and spit on you as you're down on the ground style of football in the MVAC gray tier did. So I'm interested to see it. I definitely am. I'm interested to see Camel in every MVAC gray tier. When we're talking volleyball, they were right there, except Crestview was there in that conference, right? They were like, we have to play Crestview. No more Crestview. They do have to deal with Middle Ridge in the MVAC Scarlet tier. Middle Ridge is a very good volleyball program, as we know. But, Crestview's on a different stratosphere, so you don't have to play them twice a year anymore, at least. We'll see. That'll do it for today's episode of Running Point. We are going to take the July 4th weekend off, so we will be back on Monday with Running Point. No show tomorrow, no show Friday. We'll be back on Monday with Running Point from 1 to 2. Please enjoy the 4th of July tomorrow. Go out there, watch some fireworks. I'm usually not in town during 4th of July, so I don't know the best places to go for 4th of July because I'm usually in Kansas City at this time, not this year. So I'll be doing the 4th of July thing in Ohio for the first time in a while. But enjoy the 4th of July. I think it's one of the more fun holidays. There's not a lot of, with all the other ones, it's fun, but it's also like you have to get down in these dinners with family, and it's more of a kind of formal dinner where you're sitting at the table, and at least with my family, you're in a little bit more of dressy apparel, and you just don't feel quite so comfortable. But in the 4th of July, it's like everybody go outside, get in a thin shirt, enjoy the sun, have some barbecue. It's a little bit more lax, a little bit more fun for the 4th of July.
Show off the dad bod.
Yeah, what are you saying, Scotty? Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. I will kick you off the show real quick, Scotty. Oh man, you making fun of me, man? Oh,
no.
I'm gonna throw hands. Scotty.
You look better. You look definitely more chiseled than me. It's because you're not in the power chair, and I'm lazy. I haven't got mine to go 65 miles an hour yet.
Come on, Scotty, get on top of things, man.
One day, I do look forward to it though. I'm actually gonna be in the Struthers Parade with Jimmy Sutton, so it should be fun.
I think it'd be cool to have a float carried by a bunch of wheelchairs.
The Crippletron.
The Crippletron float. Let's go. Oh God, we are silly. We are too silly. That'll do it for today's show. Thankful for the time being expired. Once again, we'll be back on Monday on Running Point from 1 to 2. Scotty will be back next Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you then. Enjoy your holiday weekend, everybody. Have a fun 4th of